right, well, let me see. We are connected here for YouTube. Let us connect for Facebook real quick. And then we're gonna begin. We're gonna have Miss LaVerne Gore. She is our guest for today, and this is Political Live. As I am trying to connect to everything, so please, everybody, bear with me. And I'm trying to make sure that everybody is invited and we can proceed with this work. So please. All right, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube for our viewers and listeners. To make sure everybody is aware, I am today interviewing Miss LaVerne Gore. She is one of our Cleveland mayoral candidates and the one individual that is actually opposing the current incumbent, who, as I mentioned in the description and information online, has refused to speak with us on his platform, his views, and what he wants to do for the city. So with that, Ms. Gore, do you mind introducing yourself to us and tell me a little bit about who you are?
Do you have enough time for this one? But no, really. I'm LaVerne Gore, lifelong Clevelander, mother, widow. I was born and raised in Cleveland. I attended the Cleveland Public School Systems. I got my undergraduate degree, in economics. I have my master's in education from Cleveland State. I have my master's in public health from Northeastern Ohio College of Medicine. I think one of the biggest things that we've done is we've done several projects and several influence building things in public housing. We've done clothing drives. I was the representative for West Point Military Academy here in Northeastern Ohio, recruitment. Formerly a banker with the savings and loans. I'm secondary market. I don't know if your viewers know that. But I think the combination of economics, education, and public health has prepared me for this role here. I've actively had a business, my own business, for about, God, I'm going to date myself, Juan, and please don't hold me to this, for about 30 years.
That is an impressive. That is an impressive record over there. And when I was reading about you online and I was looking through, compared to our incumbent, you do have experience, and that experience is not only with your business and your life experience, but also with Cleveland and the community of Cleveland. And I wanted to ask you, what encouraged you, what inspired you to run for mayor of Cleveland? As we, the last election, we saw many candidates, but this one is just a smaller election per se. And I wanted to know what encouraged you to, run for that seat.
All right. I have 35 years of experience in corporate America and self-employment. I think I've traveled all over the world, Juan. My husband was a defense contractor, and so we had the privilege, and I say privilege, of living in various, and not living there. I saw what can happen all over the world when we don't have an engaged population. So I came back to Cleveland after my husband, my husband's deceased. And I came back to Cleveland, and I saw this as, when I graduated out of Cleveland public school systems, we were 25th in the nation. I've just been reminded today that we're 510, okay, in Ohio, right, out of 600. So I saw a failing school system. I bought a house in Cleveland, and I've owned several properties. We've always owned properties in Cleveland. But I went to renew and redo a house. I bought a house, and this is a short story. It sounds long, but it's going to be short. I bought a house that was built in 1922, and it was in a horrible condition, but it was in the neighborhood that I wanted. So I went to redo the house. I was going to restore it, and I am restoring it currently. And then I met up with the Cleveland Housing Permit Department, and I realized that if everybody had to go through everything that I went through, and I've invested almost $100,000 into my property that I currently own, if everybody goes through this, then something was wrong. So I started investigating more, and I became involved in the political thought of Justin Bibb. I said, this kid, he's going to move, he's going to be exciting, and I voted for him last time. I want to be totally transparent with you. And I thought he had some great ideas. Well, as we pursued his mayoral tenure, all I saw was problems. I saw the fact that the school system was going down. It went down almost 50, 60 points just in the last 3 years in ratings. I saw that in my yard, where my house is, where my grandchildren play?
Yes.
My windows got busted in. My car got robbed in my driveway. And I live in a safe neighborhood, quote unquote, right? And I said, and then you call the police, and they said, well, you can come down here and report it. What? Then I went and I talked to the mayor about these things and some violations, civil rights violations from a deputy that he was going to put in the queue. And then I read his story. And I said, you can't do this to the people of Cleveland. The police don't come. You took away our ability, the police's ability to. So we're all now subject to it. Well, after that, and then he didn't listen. He didn't respond. He didn't return phone calls. He didn't do anything. And I said, we can do better than this. This is my city. I love Cleveland. I could live anywhere in the world that I wanted to, but I want to live in Cleveland. And all I kept hearing was these failed representations of leadership. My neighbors are afraid to go out of their houses. Children tell me they get in fights in schools. We have people living in the cemetery, homeless people. We have people living on Superior Avenue, homeless. And yet the mayor came out and said he had eradicated homelessness. The mayor came out and said the crime was down 50%. I'm walking down the streets in public housing on West 25th. I'm on a street called Loop, and right on the other street called Division. I'm campaigning over there. And I hadn't gotten the signatures yet. I'd gotten the signatures. And then I go on the other street and there's a dead body there. A child, 17 years old. You get to a point, Juan, where you have to say to yourself, I've had enough. And then they say the mayor's going to run unopposed. You got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. He's going to run unopposed with all of this happening. Every system that we have in place toward a civil community is going wrong, and we're going to let him run unopposed. And I just couldn't see it. So I took $50,000 of my own money, and I said, he will not run unopposed. He will have to answer for his tenure as mayor. He will answer because it's not right. I pay taxes. We need to have our children educated. We need jobs in Cleveland. We're not just talking about bike lanes, and I'm all for the environment. I want you to understand that, Juan, because I want a relationship with this country, this city, for my grandchildren. But you can't possibly tell me But you don't know people don't have jobs. You can't tell me that we're not educating people, because I called friends of mine and said, Cleveland's a great place to come. You need to come here and bring your business. And they tell me, you have a 66% literacy ratio in Cleveland, LaVerne. We can't even hire entry level. But yet the people in Cleveland are willing to allow this man to run unopposed. That's outrageous. And because I love Cleveland, I decided that my $50,000 would be best spent at least bringing to the attention of the people. My qualifications, I am sure you understand that Mayor Bibb has not challenged any of them, because mine are impeccable. He hasn't even held a job. We trusted him, and we trusted him with on-the-job training. If I were in corporate America and I was reviewing this city, I would say we made a bad hire. But we don't get 90 days to get rid of them. We have to live with them for 4 years. But the audacity to say you want to run unopposed, that means you've done an excellent job, and you have not. You have failed. You have failed the people of Cleveland. You have failed me. I'm just angry because I love Cleveland, and I want everybody else to love her, because I think this is a baby New York. It's beautiful here. We've got everything. I've lived all over the world, and you know there are only 10 freshwater lakes in the world, right? Guess what we've got? One of them. We've got one of them. But we're not talking about revitalization. We're talking about the Browns. We're talking about the Browns. I saw money being spent in court cases after court cases. And I'm not saying that any of this, either side was good about this. And then I get to a point where I'm saying, this is crazy. People in Cleveland have to know, maybe they need to be nudged a little bit to see that this is not right, what we're being treated like. We're not being treated fairly by our elected officials. And you see, the proof is in the pudding, Juan. Come on. I have teachers calling me saying they got books last week. They've gone a whole semester without books, but somehow, miraculously, they got books last week. We should be mad. We should be angry. But we were going to let him run unopposed, and I guess I just couldn't do it. I want to be here, and I want to have a good life for my children and my grandchildren. And I could not allow that to take place. In good conscience, I had to help protect what was mine, my future, my children's future. And I was hoping that the Cleveland that I know and love and graduated from John Adams High School proudly, 25th in the nation. I wanted to let everyone know we can have all of that again, but we cannot have it under this leadership that we have now. This is a failed experiment. And I am willing to accept responsibility because I voted for him. But I will not allow this to continue. Not unopposed. That's why I ran. I don't believe that you should have run unopposed.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, and one of the things you have mentioned quite often is safety in Cleveland. And if elected, it's one of the questions that I put a poll out there and asked some of the people. If elected, how do you plan to manage safety in the city of Cleveland to where people don't feel threatened by the safety mechanisms that are made, but also the community feels empowered by that safety themselves?
All right, Juan, one of the things is, now this is a three-part answer, and I'm not trying to waste all of your time, but listen, we have to have more police. I mean, that's a given, right? But the police don't feel like they can police any longer because they feel like they're under the defund, the issue 24, they feel like they're not being respected. Now, let me add this on. The police in Cleveland needed to have training. They needed to have training. There were some incidences here that were deplorable, but training is what they need, funding. Just to you, I was a recruiter for the United States Military Academy at West Point, right? We have opportunities here. We can recruit people, but you have to make it advantageous for them. I asked you a question, and you don't have to answer, but I'm just saying, would you want to be a police where nobody likes the police? Nobody wants to support the police. We have to make sure that communities are safely protected, but we also have to make sure that we give our policemen the support that they need with an understanding that there is training involved. You know, I carry around, I don't know if you know, I'm a Black woman. I'm an African-American woman. I'm an American of African descent, right? And sometimes people with big tattoos, I like to say my color is a big tattoo that God gave me, right? Sometimes the policing efforts, and you're, I don't know if you're brown, you're Juan, brown and Black people feel like there's an intimidation stance, right? We have to get to a point where we can say to each other that we are citizens of Cleveland. We are Americans of Cleveland, no matter what our race. And there should be no disparity in the way that the law is promoted nor invoked for any of our children, any of our people. It should be fair. And that is where we come in with training. We have to train, we have to recruit our police. We have to train our police. And we have to make not just the police accountable, our community accountable. Our community, there is absolutely no reason that we have mopeds and bikes running up and down the streets blocking traffic. They're doing figure eights, they're holding drag races in the middle of the street. Those kind of things disrupt the community. And we have to make sure that we are willing not only to take responsibility as a community, but we also have to make sure we take responsibility in the safety enforcement of it. And that means we have to get the people. We have to hire more police. And we have to hire trained police. We cannot let people believe that because they have big tattoos running across their bodies and they're Black and they're brown, that there's some type of evil that's going to happen to them. That comes with training. And that's what my company does. We train. We train executives. We train people to understand the importance of people. And until we can come up with a training mechanism, which I plan to implement immediately, but the first thing we have to do is we have to start recruiting. And if I can recruit Black, brown, Asians, women for West Point Military Academy, I think I'm capable of recruiting people for Cleveland Police Force, because they're going to know that not only are they supported, they're going to be supported by the community that needs them. And I think this was a valuable lesson for us to see that crime got out of control without them. But I think it was a valuable lesson for them to understand too, that they have a responsibility and commitment to the community, and we need to make sure that they clearly understand that. But we are going to enforce the law here. And maybe we have to start out with curfews for younger people. Maybe we have to get some things in place that we understand that there are some parental responsibilities associated with living in Cleveland. Maybe we have to get to a point that we don't overlook criminal intent. Maybe we have to get to a point that we care as a community and involve in our community, because we are one community, community policing, and we're going to have to put that in place quick. But that runs back to the educational system. We supplied books to the kids after school started in September. So what have they been doing all this time? And this is the city of Cleveland is one of the few cities in the state of Ohio that is under mayoral control. I don't know if you were aware of that. I'm sure you are. And under mayoral control, we have to at least understand that the mayor has a huge responsibility, and he did nothing with it. He did absolutely nothing with it.
Absolutely. And, one of that comes back to, I guess, another question relating, the mayor. In the past year, he was out of Cleveland for over, if I'm correct, over 12 different, meetings, council meetings. That means that it was maybe perhaps more than 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And, as the mayor yourself, if elected, do you think you're going to spend time, in other cities, perhaps other communities, or do you plan to spend your time in Cleveland with Clevelanders? How do you plan to spend the time that the city is giving you?
Juan, let me tell you, I have been traveling my whole life with my husband, and like I said, we're world travelers, right? I am ready to give my full commitment to Cleveland. One of the things I think you have to keep in mind is that perhaps the current administration was trying to do something else as the president of the Mayor's Association. I'm not looking to build my resume. My resume is already established. I know who I am. I'm not looking for another job. I think that the mayor was looking for another job. I think he was involved in doing too much on a federal level, and he forgot that Cleveland was where his focus should be. I think this was a jumping or stepping stone to a career move. I don't have any ambitions like that because if you've looked at my resume, and I'm sure you have, I don't need to show anybody who I am. I know who I am, and I have been successful being who I am. I want to help Cleveland, and I want to give Cleveland the best part of me: maturity, experience, and a drive like you would not believe. I know we can do this. I know we can turn Cleveland around, and I'm planning on being here. And I'm not just going to be here. I'm going to be working here. I am going to be definitely working here, committing to the citizens and the residents, not only of Cleveland, but the region. Because the hub of Cleveland, I'm not going to sell off. I'm not going to sell off the IX Center. I'm not going to lose the Brown. None of that would have happened if you had any negotiation skills. One, you have to understand that we negotiated this deal over 2 Cokes and a fist bump. Come on, that's not how this is done. That's not how it's done. When you're doing corporate transactions and corporate mergers and corporate relinquishing, you have lawyers there. You have people there that are involved in it. And you make a decision without even contacting city council. You over 2 Cokes and a fish ball, and you end up with $100 million. Are you serious? They paid the guy that plays for the Browns, and I don't even know his name. They paid him a contract of 200-some million. One person. And all we got was $100 million. And we are supposed to be happy with that. And the mayor says that's the best he could do. Serious? Anybody that knows business, banking, finance, anything, understands that if we can pay $200 million for a player, what is $100 million? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, exactly. And we go back to that Brown Stadium. Let's go to the Brown Stadiums for a minute here, because I know that's been a big topic this last year. And especially in the past month and a half. And it comes back to be that relationship between the mayoral office and Cleveland City Council themselves, right? That relationship is non-existent. The mayor and Cleveland City Council have not literally sit together and get along in many things. They are neck to neck pretty much at all times, fighting each other and not getting along. Now, as a mayor yourself, how do you think you can change that to make the people of Cleveland be more involved, and I guess the city council themselves be more involved and in a great relationship with the mayor, where decisions can be made, unanimously, but also in accordance to what the people want and what the Cleveland mayor and council want together?
All right, I'm going to give you a small civics lesson here. The mayor is in charge of the administrative situation within our city borders, right? Council is in charge of the legislative. So when you're saying they weren't together, council approved almost everything this mayor has done. I want to deal with a council that offers me good counsel, that will stand up for the people. If he got everything passed, all of his initiatives passed, he could not have done that without council. Council voted everything he wanted. He said council voted everything he wanted. Look at the docket. No, I want a city council that is committed to the people. And I hope the people that are getting elected understand that about me. We want to do what is right for the people. We don't want to do what's right for the self-interest of 1 people or 17, or now I think it's 15, right? We don't want to just do that. We want to make sure that city council is responsible, respectful, and attentive to the needs of the people. If you understand that you don't think city council knows that there's a homeless situation in Tremont, I respect many of the council people. I just think that we need to at least ask them, how did he get most of these things approved? And we need to ask them, Your responsibilities to the city has got to be honed in. We had two council people. We have Linsick and what's his name? Brian Casey, I think his name was. Yes. They stood up for the people. Stood up. We have to have elected representation that stands up for the people and is not looking just to build their resume. We have to have people that are in accordance. I don't think there should have been more arguing. There should have been outrage at some of the things that have happened here in Cleveland under this mayor's leadership. But there wasn't. And the people, I don't know if we were asleep. I don't know if we've just gotten to a point that our city is not as important as it should be to them. I was out in Beechwood the other day and I told them, they said, well, this Cleveland doesn't affect us. Yes, it does. Cleveland is the hub. And eventually, everything that happens in Cleveland will happen to you. We all have to work together with this. City council has to step up to the plate and be much more responsible to the citizens of Cleveland. We had almost, $511 million in ARPA funds? Juan, tell me where they went. Because I don't know.
That is a good question. There were programs out there being managed by these funds, but the programs have not themselves been actually taking care of it well. So, but that goes back to, again, the current administration hasn't been taking care of a lot of things well enough. So, and that goes to, I guess, my next question: taking care of things. Not only have we seen crime go higher, we have seen the revision and restructure of a horrible recycling program brought back that was not really doing anything at the beginning and is still not doing anything. We have seen a horrible use of city funds with the 311 line, which takes forever still to answer, over 9 months to answer one small request. If elected, how will you make these services be expedited, work faster for the people, and work for Clevelanders over the rich part of Clevelanders? For all Clevelanders.
Here's my thought on this. I've had a hole out inside of my yard for 8 months, right? With the cones out there. They've been fixing some. They haven't managed to fix it yet, but they've been fixing on it, right? I am a homeowner, and I've always owned a home since I was 21 years old. The current administration lives in an apartment. He doesn't understand the ins and outs of a community neighborhood. When you don't understand that if you don't pick up the leaves, right? When you don't understand that the catch basin's fill up and then the water overflows and it goes into people's basements. He doesn't understand that because he lives in an apartment building and that's all managed for him. The citizens of Cleveland have every opportunity because we have a forestry department, we have a recycling department. How come none of it works? Because we have poor leadership. The recycling program has to be implemented. We have tons of trash every week. Wednesday, they pick mine up. I don't know when they pick yours up. And we could be recycling those things. It's called the environment. We could be doing these things but we bring in people that have no experience, and we don't even know their experience because they've all come from different parts of the country. Do you know we have smart people in Cleveland? I believe we do. But we went and hired an administration that comes from all over the country, right? And yet nothing gets done. The recycling program you talk about never got really off the hook. 311, they tell me, well, there's nothing to do, but we're going to try. No, you will do it. These are taxpayers. And because they are taxpayers, they deserve to have everything done to the best of your abilities. The power goes out in my community every year because nobody comes and trims the trees. And you call and you say, hey, I need the trees trimmed. Nobody shows up. We deserve better because we all know that as soon as that heavy storm hits, we're going to be without electricity. It doesn't need to happen. You just need to come out and cut the branches, cut the limbs off the wires. We have a forestry department. Come do it. But nobody makes anybody. And you can't blame the city workers because they're sitting there saying they're looking for direction. That's called leadership. That's called leadership. That's called leadership. I talked to retired policemen, and they said they couldn't do it anymore. I talked to retired city workers. All of this happening under Viv. They couldn't do it anymore. There is no leadership. Juan, you understand, if you're not directed, if you're not placed in a right situation and directed by the right leadership with the commitment to serve the people, then in fact you take on the responsibilities and the attitude of the leadership. If the leader doesn't care, why should I? If the leader's gone out of town every 5 minutes, if the leader is taking on huge roles, he's in charge of climate, he's in charge of the mayor's association, and those elements become more important to him than the citizens of Cleveland. You don't think his employees are watching this? Mine do. All of my employees have volunteered to work on my campaign for free and using their levels of expertise to invoke the possibilities of a better Cleveland. They are doing this. They are doing this because they believe. But if you don't have a population of workers, of people who are involved in the city of Cleveland that are collecting a paycheck, then what you have a situation where the people have forgotten. You have a situation where the population of Cleveland can only fail because nobody cares. Nobody cares because they don't have any real identification with the city because our leadership doesn't. Our leadership has no identification with the city of Cleveland. So what do you think message he sends down? Go blacken out you 2-3 SUVs and be important. No, the people are important. People are important. Next question.
No, yeah, exactly, absolutely. And I think with that part, what we're seeing right now in our city, as you said, is a lack of government itself, a lack
Yes.
of people supporting. And you're running against this, it's this young guy that the Democrats just look as per se, and bringing the political party itself because that's who's supporting him and who's giving him all this money and all this foreign money coming towards him too. To where what we're seeing here for you, as you mentioned, is volunteer grassroots groundwork. So, if elected, are you gonna be accepting lobbying money from groups like this, like the Brown Stadium people that are definitely funding Justin Bieber? Are you gonna be accepting money from foreign countries like Israel and AIPAC, or are you planning to not take those on behalf of their corporate greed and their greed to take over our city, and you're planning to serve the people, importantly, before the corporate greed?
What I am going to say to you, corporate greed, and a lot of the people and a lot of the things that you've mentioned, right, have not cared about Cleveland. They've not cared about the citizens of Cleveland, or we would not be where we are. Or we would not be where we are. But I'm going to take it all the way back to where it belongs. When you took that money, what did you take it to not do? Or what did you take it to lie? Or did you take it to just say, put a window dressing on? We have 150 volunteers, 150 people that believe that they want Cleveland back. And they're not all just in Cleveland. They're in Seoul, and they're in New York. They're in people that believe that the people are important. People that believe. You understand we started this out with $50,000 and some business cards, and we haven't raised much more than that. We've managed to take all the districts, everything, and we actually have a campaign, and it's a beautiful thing to see. We have a people's campaign, and I don't think one has been run like this. And God, I can remember. I don't know if you're young, and I'm not, but I've never seen anything like this. I have never seen anything like this. People call, and they say, "How can we help? What can we do?" We ran out of yard signs. So I said, well, take the yard signs out of your yard and go stick them at your pole when you go vote, right? This is an organic campaign. It's very organic. It's a people-driven campaign. We have managed say for itself that the people can do whatever they want to do and hold anybody that doesn't agree with those principles accountable. We have not collected any money. I'm sure you've looked at my campaign finance report. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
No, yeah, compared to the current incumbent, it is crazy. Because the current incumbent has...
He's had 600 million and I have, 52,000. This is grassroots. So if you're asking me, am I going to be there for the people? Am I going to continue to listen to the people? The corporate people have not supported me, in case you haven't looked at it, right?
Exactly, yes.
They haven't given me any money, right? They haven't given me anything. They haven't donated anywhere. I believe in the people. I believe that people will speak. I was at the Board of Elections yesterday, and the people were clapping when I walked in. That's God. I can't take credit for this one because it's the people. It's what's in their heart. If we win tomorrow, then God has blessed us because it's a challenge, and I'm going to need people like you, young people like your listeners, to come in and help. Come in and tell me what they want to do to help Cleveland. I'm going to need that. But I can tell you that this has never happened before, where we can launch a campaign and we took 150 people getting 2 and 3 signatures on a petition, and all of them coming up with 3,000, right? They did that. Voluntary. Nobody paid anybody. Nobody. And we didn't have the money to pay it anyway. Just my 50,000. And we did it.
Absolutely.
And Juan, I'm gonna have to let you go soon because I'm standing outside in the parking lot.
Oh, absolutely. So let me ask you 3 more questions. And I have 2 of them are from the audience and have been listening. But one of the last ones is, in your first 100 days as an elected official, if elected to the mayoral seat, what are your plans with Cleveland? And do you plan to try to fight to keep the Browns in Cleveland, or are you planning to just make a better deal, or how do you see that going?
When you're talking about the Browns, don't you think too much attention has been paid to the Browns? And sometimes when I can tell you something. I used to have, and you may not understand, this is an old wives' tale. I used to have a hangnail on my finger, right? When I was a little kid, and I always played with it and pick at it. And my mother said, you're giving too much attention, right? And because you're giving it so much attention, it's getting worse, right? I think with the Cleveland Browns, we have to let that settle down. The level of importance of the Cleveland Browns when we have so many other things here. When we have so many other things. Do I think it was a good deal? No. No. But do I think education, jobs, and getting this crime under control are more important? Yes. And if somebody's willing to come and tell me, while the Browns are more important, and I love the Browns because, they're my team, right? But yes. Are the people more important? The education of our children? That our seniors can walk the streets at night? The first 100 days, we need to focus on safety. We need to focus on safety and education, because I believe that part of the problem that we're experiencing right now is young people. They don't have anything to do. And we're not educating them. If we can find books that were supposed to be delivered in September that just came Friday or whenever they came the last couple of days, we've got a problem. And we got to address it quickly, because when children have energy that they can't use, then we have chaos. So I think just like that hangnail that my mother used to say, you're giving it too much attention. Right now, we need to focus on the people. The Browns have gotten enough attention. I think it's a bad deal. In the next 45 days, City Council can vote to approve that. So it won't matter what I do in 100 days, will it? Because I don't take office until January. What you should be asking and what you should be making accountable, and I'm not telling you what to do, what are they going to do? We sold off the IX Center, right? What are they going to do in the next 45 days that I'll have to deal with? My 100 days will be predicated on what they do in the next 45.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and then, so we have a question from audience member here, Brent Misenko, and he was asking, what are your thoughts on the police commission?
You know, somebody said something to me, and I'm going to give, what's his name again?
His name is Brent.
Brent. I just got a call today. I was on another podcast, and they asked that same question. And he gave me an interesting assessment. And I kind of think that it was a good assessment, right? He says, we have a police commission that gets paid by the hour for the decisions they make, right? I wonder if I were being paid by the hour to continue the commission, would I be in such a hurry to solution? Would I be in such a hurry to solution? I don't know that answer, but I want to review that police commission because they're the ones that make the decisions for the entire city as far as the commission is concerned. And I think they're appointed by the mayor. So in actuality, they're making decisions that the mayor wants, doesn't it? So we have to look into that whole commission. Because if in fact you're being paid to make decisions and you haven't come up with many of them yet, have you? We need to look into the commission and see what's motivating them or under what privilege they have or have not to not make a decision that will be in the best interest of the citizens of Cleveland. And thank you, Brent, for that question because I had that answer, huh? I just got it yesterday. Next question.
So and the next question is from Laura Davis, and Laura is,
hi, Laura.
And Laura's asking, what will you do about the housing crisis and homelessness in the city of Cleveland?
I got to talk to some people about that this morning. As a matter of fact, I was on a call-in radio show. And as I told you about my experiences with trying to turn an old house into something that's very livable, right? And restore it, right? I think that the citizens of Cleveland, with the land bank and all kinds of things happening to them, right? If we make it a situation where we can restore, rehab some of these houses that we have in Cleveland. I was at a citizens meeting the other day down in, I think, Tremont. And they said, well, if we have it, one of the police that was there, he said, if we have a situation where we see some disruptive behavior, we're just going to come in and tear down the house. Now, that made no sense, right? We have housing stock that maybe we need to restore and rehab. We need to do both. We have houses, and we need to focus on making sure that these houses are adequately maintained and maybe tear up and move through a bit quicker the permit process. Because we have people that are homeless that are in need. They are in need. As I told you before, we had $511 million ARPA funds. I was told that Frank Jackson spent some of it, but Bibb had it. Why didn't we put it into fixing some of these houses and making people have a place to live? Why didn't we do that? We have old school buildings. I hear they're going to tell you tomorrow what buildings they're closing because everybody's rushing to do everything just in case, right? They're old school buildings that other communities all around the country are converting. They're converting them for people who don't have a home. They're doing some interesting things. As you said, recycle. Recycle just doesn't mean bottles. Recycle means buildings. Recycle means anything that can be repurposed and reused. Recycle. I believe we can solve some of this just by recycling some of the elements that we have and taking some of the money and not focusing on light shows downtown, but focusing on people that are in need of a place to stay when this weather hits below 20. Because it's going to happen and it's coming. And I am prayerful. I ask my God every day to make sure that we can do something and be innovative in our thoughts as we go through this. But there's 45 days left for decision that can make the potential for the greatness of Cleveland be put into question.
Absolutely, and that was my my last question that I have from the audience. I wanted to Really quick, actually, if you don't mind sharing your social medias with people, how people can find about you, and if you have any message to any undecided voters for tomorrow.
Okay, let me tell you, it's Gore for Cleveland, Gore, G-O-R, the number 4, CLE.org. Gore, G-O-R-E, the number 4, CLE.org. Let me tell you something, Cleveland. I'm excited. You couldn't have a better champion than me. This is something that I have, on my posters and everything, I put 4 times such as this. I am prepared. I have 35 years of experience. Cleveland needs somebody to care for them. Cleveland needs somebody to care for their children. Our current mayor does not have children. He doesn't understand the need to nurture and heal a community. He doesn't have that. I am humbly asking for your vote. I need your vote. I need you to come out. I need you to call 12 people. I need you to tell people about me. I need you to go on my page and share it. I need you. And hopefully, and God willing, you will receive what you have put in the belief in me and my return investment into you and the communities of Cleveland. Juan, I'm going to have to thank you for having me and tell you, vote Gore tomorrow and say a prayer for me. I thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Gore. Thank you so much. And for those listening at home, remember that the election is tomorrow in Cleveland. The polls will open at 7 a.m. and they close at 7 p.m. Again, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much again for joining me, Ms. Gore.
You're very welcome. You take care of yourself, okay?
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that's all for this episode, folks. You can visit www.politicalpod.com to find more about my podcast, which is regularly not live stream, but this episode was important enough to be live stream. Until then, keep on and keeping on, and I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for joining me.